Outside a police department in Warrenville Heights, Ohio, a crowd gathered with one message: justice for Amanda. Family, friends, sorority sisters, clients. People who knew her as the woman who could light up a room the moment she walked into it. But now, they were standing outside a building begging the system to do what they felt it hadn't done fast enough. Because the man who admitted he shot her walked free at first. And that single decision set off a storm: press conferences, marchers, evidence folders, and a community refusing to be silent. This is the story of Amanda Sharon Williams, a business owner, a mother, a grandmother, a Delta Sigma Theta sorority sister, whose life was taken inside her own home, and whose family refused to let her name become just another headline. Before we proceed, subscribe to our channel for more chilling stories that will leave you on the edge of your seat. Now the story. Amanda Williams was 46 years old, and by 2023 she had built something real. She owned a salon in University Heights, Ohio, Alamode Styles. Not only did she run a business, she created a brand. She promoted her own hair care products, built a loyal client base, and did what many dream of doing: she made her own lane. Amanda was also a mother of 2, Tyler and Tristan, and she adored her grandson, Tillin. The people around her didn't just describe her as hardworking. They described her as warm, genuine, and deeply connected to her community. She wasn't invisible. She wasn't alone. She was loved by family, friends, clients, and her sorority sisters. And that's what made what happened next even harder to accept. For about 6 years, Amanda had been in a relationship with Terrell Edwards, a man reported to be 41 years old. He worked at a hospital and also drove for Walmart on the side. On social media, the relationship looked stable. Date nights, trips, birthday moments, big smiles. They went to shows, took vacations, posted like many long-term couples do. In early 2023, he proposed. And Amanda said yes. But behind the smiles, there were reports of serious trouble, so serious that according to the story you shared, they had already been in couples counseling. And people close to Amanda believed she had been thinking about leaving. Because years earlier, there was an incident that changed the way her family would later view everything. In November 2020, Amanda was reportedly hospitalized after an assault. According to the information in your story, she later sent Terrell a message expressing anger and pain over what had happened, saying she felt humiliated and that things would never be the same. To the outside world, she tried to hide what was going on. She wore a mask and gave other explanations. Even people close to her, including her daughter living in the home, reportedly didn't know the truth at the time. And this is one of the most painful realities of domestic violence. Sometimes the people suffering feel pressured to protect the image of peace, even while living with fear. If you're watching this and you recognize that pattern: silence, covering injuries, minimizing, hoping it gets better, please hear this clearly. You deserve safety. You deserve peace. October 9th, 2023. Amanda had just returned from a cosmetology convention in Columbus. That day, a text argument began, something that might sound small to strangers, but escalated into something deadly. The conflict reportedly grew after Amanda disconnected Terrell's phone service. He then got a new number and kept messaging. Later, the argument moved into the home, first away from others, then upstairs. Amanda reportedly told him to leave, multiple times. It was her house, and this question would later haunt many people. If he truly felt threatened, why not leave? At some point that night, Terrell called 911 and claimed he shot Amanda in self-defense inside the bedroom. He said she came at him with a knife. But the details and the evidence would later become the center of the case. Because here's what made this situation uniquely controversial. Ohio's Stand Your Ground law and the self-defense claim meant the case did not move as fast as the family expected. Police held him initially, reviewed the evidence available at that time, and then he was released. No charges right away. And for Amanda's loved ones, that moment felt like the world tilting off its axis. Soon after, Amanda's family stood outside the Warrenville Heights Police Department in pain and disbelief. Amanda's mother expressed the kind of grief that doesn't fit into words, the heartbreak of knowing her daughter's final moments happened without her there. Amanda's daughter Tyler spoke too, saying she wanted justice, that something had to happen, and that the family did not feel safe. Their message was clear. This wasn't just tragedy. It was accountability. And then the community stepped in. A local pastor, community members, sorority sisters, friends, and supporters started organizing. They held a press conference. They marched. They collected documentation, messages, photos, and records. They wanted authorities to see what they believed was the full picture. They weren't asking for revenge. They were asking for recognition of a pattern that people say often looks like this. Harm, apology, harm, apology. About 23 days after Amanda's death, on November 3, 2023, the Warrenville Heights Police Department released a statement. Evidence had been presented to a grand jury. The grand jury reviewed the material and returned an indictment. An arrest warrant was issued for Terrell Edwards. He later turned himself in and was held on a high bond, according to the story you provided. For Amanda's family, it wasn't closure. Nothing brings her back, but it was movement. It was the system finally taking the case to the next step. In late February 2024, the trial began at the Cuyahoga County Justice Center in Cleveland. Both sides agreed on one major fact. Terrell Edwards shot Amanda. The question for the jury was intent versus self-defense. In court coverage, prosecutors argued that the self-defense story didn't match key details. They emphasized what was shown in video evidence and how certain moments unfolded. The case became even more intense because Terrell reportedly recorded video during the argument, something he likely believed would protect him. But prosecutors argued the footage raised serious questions, including whether warnings were given, whether there was a clear immediate threat at the moment of the shooting, and what the physical distance and positioning indicated. The courtroom was filled with people who loved Amanda. Not because they wanted drama, because they wanted truth. On March 4, 2024, the jury returned with guilty verdicts, including murder and other related charges. Outside court, the family's emotions were complicated: relief that the legal system finally responded, and grief that Amanda was still gone. One family member urged other women to learn from the case, saying domestic violence is real and staying too long can be deadly. That message is hard but important, because domestic violence doesn't always start with extreme moments. It often starts with control, fear, isolation, and I'm sorry, after damage is done. 1 week later, on March 11, 2024, the court reconvened for sentencing. The sentence described in your story was life in prison, with parole eligibility after a minimum period plus additional time related to firearm specifications, adding up to a minimum of 24 years before parole eligibility. Amanda's family spoke in court, and one of the most heartbreaking statements was the reality that never changes. I can't call my mom again. I can't tell her about my day. I can't say I love you. That's what sentencing can never fix. It can only acknowledge wrongdoing. It can't reverse loss. Amanda was more than a victim. She was a builder, a mother, a business owner, a community light. And the response from the people around her proved something powerful. When communities refuse to accept silence, cases don't disappear. People marched, they organized, they spoke up. They pushed for the full truth to be seen. And while justice will never equal Amanda's life, accountability can prevent someone else's name from being added to the next tragic headline. Rest in peace, Amanda Sharon Williams. If you or someone you know is experiencing relationship violence or control, please talk to someone you trust and seek local support services in your area. You deserve safety and help. And if you want more true cases told clearly and respectfully, subscribe to the channel, like the video, and share it with someone who needs awareness. Because every story has a heartbeat.